Hi, I'm Leonard Maltin, and I'm sitting here today with Andreas Deja, one of the star animators of the Disney animation renaissance, and also a great student and fan of animation.
Yeah, it's always been important to me to study the old animation because you wanted to find out what made these films so great. So you just have to study them.
But you've done that pretty intensely.
There are many people who are fans of Disney animation, but if you're serious about it, if you want to do it yourself, you have to go in and look at the drawings and look at the film frame by frame and study the motion, see how they did certain things. What the increments were, you know, when Pluto lifts up a leg, how fast it happens and how he lifts it. It was it just makes for a fascinating study.
Is that the best way to learn about animation, you think? To actually just watch it closely?
It has to be part of your study. The most important thing is really to study life and bring your own life experience into your work, because you are an actor and you have to draw from what you know, what you've experienced. But the technique is another big important part of Disney animation, and that's where the studying comes in, looking at the old shorts and feature films.
Pluto's one of the key Disney characters, one of the classic Disney characters. Pluto's not a real dog. He's not drawn as an anatomically correct dog would be. Would you explain what an animator has to do to make all of that work in harmony so that it's all happening simultaneously and it makes a funny or appealing piece of action?
Pluto looks like a Disney cartoon character, but he has to behave like a real dog. So the animator is really faced with a challenge, taking that simple anatomy that Pluto has. He's not bogged down with bones and muscles and all of that. He looks very simple, but he has to behave like a dog. So you have to go out and watch dogs and see how they jump and how they sit down and how they get up and how they bark, because that all has to be in the animation.
And how they sniff.
And how they sniff, of course, and yawn, all of those things.
Have you ever drawn Pluto?
I animated Pluto in a little section at the beginning of The Prince and the Pauper, which was a featurette we did years ago. And Mickey and Pluto and then Goofy joined them later on. We're just dreaming about what it would be like to be rich and have all this food, and we did a whole song sequence, and Pluto was involved, and it was just fun animating him.
Did you do your homework? Did you do some research at the time?
Oh, always, always. And I always go back to what I think are the best shorts. And they just always happen to be around 1938 till 1942, like the golden days of short animation. I really like a short called Bone Troubles, when Pluto finds himself being chased by the villain Butch, this bulldog, and he ends up in a carnival. And he looks at his mirror image, all these funky mirrors and all these reflections are just distorted. When I was a kid, I thought that was the funniest thing ever.
Well, I think we've talked enough about Pluto. I'd like to see Pluto. Would you show me how you approach drawing Pluto at your drawing board?
Sure, okay. Let's walk over there.
Okay. So, your workplace, your home.
This is it.
So if I said to you, draw me Pluto, how do you start? Is it true that those old characters all start with a circle?
It is totally true.
Really?
It's a myth, but it is totally true. The thing is, I still start with the head, just to say this is where the skull will be, and you add on details in the body after that. And then Pluto has big eyes, and very expressive.
And the brows are very important too, aren't they?
They are, because they change. You know, of course, if he's angry, they would come way down. If he's sad, they would bend a certain way. And then I would go over here and do his nose. The thing about all of these old classic Disney characters, they are very round. So you don't have any sharp corners. It's not really a graphic style. It's just a very sculptural, simple style. And just like Goofy, he has his bump on his head. I don't know why, but it looks good. You know, and let's have it open his mouth and maybe his tongue hanging out.
That tongue is very expressive too. Tongue.
And very typical of dogs to do that. And then I would say, okay, let's have him sit. And again, look at the simplicity of his body. It's just a big sausage, really, without a lot of anatomy and complications in it. Of course, he has to have his tag. And for his legs, I would just sort of indicate where the shoulders would be. And rather than being bogged down with elbows and knees and all that, it's just very sort of just an indication of the shoulder Here would be where the elbow would be, and you just take it way down. The legs taper out a little bit. Place the feet firmly on the ground. And his back legs are just really tubes that are bent. So again, really simple.
This is from they used to call rubber hose animation, right?
Right, it's very simple. I mean, just so you can focus on the acting. And even though you have to also understand that the animators then weren't that sophisticated with that draftsmanship yet. You know, they learned all that later when they started on the features. But the shorts were handled very simply. And even his toes, just round forms, little black toenails and round toes. So again, I don't really think he looks that much like a realistic dog, but he certainly feels like one and acts like one. You can see, you can actually get a sketch of Pluto down pretty fast because of the lack of detail, because he's so simple. So that's sort of in a very simple way would be Pluto.
So that's our basic Pluto, but how would you change his expression?
When it comes to putting real expressions onto Pluto, the eyes are really important because the audience always looks toward the eyes of an animated character. And Walt knew this, and even told his animators, focus on the eyes. So let's say Pluto would see something that he wouldn't like, or he would see a cat. Dogs don't like cats. So this whole unit would then change and become this. Again, I start with the eyes first, but even without adding details, you can see this is an angry face. And then, of course, you would take it a step further, and maybe he would growl. So then you would do this. You would add teeth, and so forth. But you really start with the eyes. If he's sad, there's another way of doing that. The eyes sort of are taking on a teardrop shape, such as like this. So maybe he's looking for sympathy from Mickey or something like that. You know, again, you can tell, you just draw the eyes, but you can tell already that there's something going on, some kind of emotion. And if I would take it again further, he would maybe be very bashful and do something like this. This could also reflect guilt. He has done something that he doesn't, that he knows he shouldn't have, you know.
Animators' drawings are broken up into certain categories. One is called an extreme, and then there are poses along the way in a scene. What would be an example of an extreme?
Let's say this would be part of an animated sequence. Then I would label this as my first key being number 1. And usually the keys are circled. So all the follow-up people know this is a key because I circled that number. And I would take another sheet of paper, and maybe I would have Pluto get up. So what that means is like this shape would have to change. This would be a little bit higher. I reverse that angle. And his shoulders are now up here. Elbows. The feet would still pretty much be in place. I'm just going to do this very quickly without details. But when we flip those drawings back and forth, I think we're going to be able to see something happening. And then those knees would bend a little bit. The tail would do a different thing. I think by going down, it would do that. It would also reverse. And his head might be at this point over here. Maybe he would look more toward us as he's getting up. So if I now flip those drawings, I think you can see something happening. So this would be drawing, I would say if he gets up, this would have to be at least number 5, probably 7. So those are 2 key drawings. Then I would go on and make further drawings as he would maybe take his first step. But I have to leave an instruction for the in-betweener, for the assistant, because these drawings, these key drawings, only frame the main action. So I have drawing number 1 and 7 here, let's say. There are drawings missing, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I want him to start slowly. So I would have a drawing here, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6. is when things are starting to speed up, but you can see it starts slowly. And then the in-betweener would actually know, based on these instructions, on how to place the knee, how to place the head, how to place the elbow, and so forth.
So if Pluto were to just get up and walk off camera, how many drawings would that take?
A rough guess would be, if I would have him sitting here walking off, I think I could probably do that in about 12 to 15 drawings to frame the main action. And then the in-betweener would have to do, and then we time this, of course. It probably takes 21, 22, 23. It takes about 3 seconds. I would say I can do this in about 12 to 15 drawings, but those would be the main drawings. And then the in-betweener would do the in-betweens. So all put together, we would probably come up with about 75 drawings.
Just to do a simple action like getting up and walking.
It does add up. It is labor intense, but it's fun at the same time. And the thing is, what people don't realize, we don't count our drawings by the end of the day. We don't. I'm not thinking I have to do until 12 noon, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drawings. I'm just doing these drawings, and I'm trying to focus on what he's thinking. I have no idea by the end of the day or the month how many drawings I will have made.
Well, you've been very generous, Andres. We really appreciate it. But I think Pluto's been a good sport too.
Yeah, we should reward him with something. So there's still something missing when I look at this. Maybe we can throw him a bone. Just add his regular food dish, and if I remember, it even says his name. Just add a nice juicy bone in there.
He's earned it.
He has.
And you have too. Thanks so much, Andres.
Thank you for having me.